I'm just hitting these live buttons after I misspelled stuff horribly. You bring us LeChonk once more. Hi, everybody.
It's like a pretty good Pokemon, even though it's from a bad game.
You know, it's like opinion here. I was never going to buy it because, again, Switch is outside of my purview, and even by the time I would possibly get a Switch, it's like low end of games I would ever want.
I have a Switch, and let me tell you, I use it to play Hades, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I have no other games on it. It's Hades or it's Mario. Those are like two things I have for it.
I probably, like, if I had the chance to get one, I'd probably do, like, I don't mind Smash Brothers. I'm probably sure I could find some people to play with.
See, Lightning, here's the problem. I don't like Zelda games.
The Zelda
I don't like Zelda games that aren't the 2D isometric ones.
Yeah, I'm unsure.
I don't like 3D Zelda games. I think they're kind of bad.
I played Metroid Dread. I liked the looks of that one as much as people complained about it. I like that style of Metroid anyway. But there's a couple other ones. Like there's enough games for me to find, other than probably just some stuff.
I don't know. 3D Zelda just doesn't do it for me. I don't know what it's about. It just never feels good. I hated Breath of the Wild because it was just an open world.
But yeah. Anyway, what the hell are we talking about? We were talking about
some stuff. I know Wizards did something
really
dumb.
Yeah.
It's the Dark Souls. It's the Korok torture simulator of Twitter's TV.
Look, no, torture simulator was me attempting the Jedi Fallen Order randomizer on Monday, where everything is replaced 1-to-1, and on the first planet, the like little centipede creatures were all replaced with the ninth sister.
Why? It's a bad randomizer.
It was a bad randomizer. It was
a game you can't randomize because there's not enough enemy variety.
Well, I mean, like, they could just actually have some randomization. Like, it could have been Stormtrooper and, like, you know...
I feel like Jedi Survivor will have a much better randomizer just because it has more enemies.
I just feel like the 1-to-1 replacement was just not that great anyway. You know, that's, I think, the big issue.
Nothing will ever get better than a Resident Evil randomizer. Those are like...
They are. Anyway, we have a docket today. A lot of stuff to talk about, other than, you know, randomizers and Nintendo Switches and stuff. Wizards done some things. I guess we can start with that.
My opinion's on one of them.
So...
I asked some opinions on one of the things they did, because I only know one thing they did this week.
Okay. The first thing to start out with is, of course, the big thing is we have a price increase for books.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple of different articles about it. I'll use the...
about this price increase if they offered cheaper paperbacks or PDFs. They don't.
PDFs are still the same price. No, the thing is, which I didn't realize until someone was talking about this, is they were taking a look at all the books that were raised in price. All of them have less pages than all the current... Like, the page mount that they're giving in these books are less overall. So, more...
They had a cheaper option, like a paperback, like a mass... Like Paizo has the pocket editions or whatever, like the mass market paperbacks. I'd be fine with this price increase, but the 5th edition is already the most expensive tabletop system. Those books were $60.
Yeah, and increasing them to $70, it's a $10 raise, which is more than 10%. That's a pretty big price increase. And on top of the fact that they've been having cough record profits over the last year.
Yeah, it's funny that inflation always coincides with record profits.
Yeah. Also, Hasbro has reported D&D sales were up 13% in quarter 1 2023 compared to quarter 4.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm probably never gonna buy a 5th edition book again, mostly because I don't like anything new they put out. But also, man, it's getting real expensive.
Now, not to be conspiratorial, but I did hear this, and so let me explain this entire thing. And even if there isn't a actual conspiracy in the end of this, it is food for thought. One of the things they've always been is basically one release every season, pretty much. So every quarter, they have one big release.
Big book.
At the end of the year, there's currently 2 for August releases, including a new book that they just announced, and then a book every month now, up until the end of the year, at very least. Mm-hmm. So we're switching for quarterly to monthly, raised prices, more material.
Yeah, I mean, I think they are just milking it for money, because it's popular, so it makes sense to do that, right?
The cynic that I heard somebody say, which made me say, like, that's probably too far, but there might be a core that someone's thinking some of this is.
I don't think it's the intention, but I do think someone has thought we could just make more money off of this.
I think that, no, the thought I heard was they've been pushing towards digital, and of course, their VTT, where you have to buy all this stuff for it, which would be cheaper.
They're going to push for D&D Beyond subs in the VTT sub.
Yeah. Regardless if this is like more just a profit, an incredible profit-driven thing to just increase their money exponentially, it might have the effect of that push things to more digital, which maybe is it a thought pattern in there? I don't know.
I will say prices have gone up on things. That is just how the world works. But this is like a pretty big jump, and books aren't that expensive to make, right? Like a video game, there's an argument to be made why a video game should be $70 instead of $60. One, because video games have been the same price for much longer. Although it depending, Atari games in NES were much more expensive than they are now. But there's an argument made why newer games should cost more. I don't know if you can have that same argument with a book, but what do I know? Yes.
I mean, like,
I'm not an economist.
Increases in prices and stuff like that has a lot of arguments and discussions that come into effect. But I'm going to just use a very good example of something that I can throw out here right then and there that will tell you why Wizards overprice charges for their books. I'm going to pick up the Pathfinder 2nd Edition core book. Now, this is a huge book. Mm-hmm. At least twice the size of your average D&D book.
It's 2 books in one. It's a DMG and a core player book.
$60.
Yep.
As high a quality cover as a D&D book. The artwork, I think, matches anything that Wizards has done so far.
Cantus, I'm going to stop you here because you're gray. You're full screen on something. They can't see your visual.
Sorry. Thank you.
Visual referencing.
Thank you. I never fixed it. I don't know what to do to fix it.
I don't know what the problem even is or what causes that.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Anyway, book here, twice the size of your average D&D book. Cover just as nice. Quality just as good. Printing just as good. With plenty of nice artwork in here that has been paid for. So this thing, same price, still earning Paizo a profit as a D&D book. And now they're going to do something smaller than this, than half of this, which they've already been doing, for more money.
I have a couple of the paperback 2E books. So
I think this is the argument that for if they would provide something like this, and then go say, we have to inflate because of various prices.
Hold that up again for a second to show like how thick it is. I think a normal 5th edition book isn't even half that size.
Okay, here I've got just easily grabbed.
A little bit smaller. Yeah, it's a little bit smaller than half.
And now this was $50 book, so this was a little cheaper. But this was the Dungeon of the Mad Mage, which I got because I like Mega Dungeons. I got this for a little cheaper when I got it at a convention years ago. But still, $10 difference for twice. Like, I gotta be honest, maybe the hard covering and stuff. But like, if they charged me like $40 for this, and then were like charging me like $60 for something like this, I might not complain because it's like half the size. Because again, hard covering does, it's a different type of
Hardcover
printing.
is more expensive.
Yeah. So I can understand that, that is going to increase the price dramatically, modern paper, but this just seems insane. We're getting less, less for more for the same quality, where we're already being overcharged, it feels like.
It's also the thing is, to compare Wizards, it is weird they don't have paperbacks. Paperbacks are just a more appealing option to more people because they're cheaper. But the quality of writing in the newer stuff is also taking a dip, in a lot of people's opinions. So you are getting something more expensive that is worse.
Yeah. There is I gave the comic books. There is the D&D Comic Community Update, which does include this, which I do want to talk about. So I'll link this also here. And I'll put the link in the description and stuff like that. I will also say, I did see from someone one of the people that I've seen that have come into since the OGL debacle for D&D news, that apparently it was discovered that in D&D announcement on the official D&D account on Twitter was if anybody mentioned anything about Pinkertons based after this, they were hiding. I think I know
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The VTuber?
Perhaps.
Tiefling.
Oh, yes. She was...
So, she is amusingly where I get a lot of D&D news from.
I ran into her when I was doing the OGL stuff, too. She has interesting opinions, but a very weird community.
Her community is the classic VTuber community.
And she's not really a classic VTuber, but suffers from the classic VTuber community.
Much distanced herself from VTuber.
She still has that community,
but she's got that community. Yeah, they just mute your reply if you say Pinkerton.
Yeah, which I mean,
what's your transparency?
Yeah, they don't really have transparency. It's another issue that they have. Anyway, the D&D Beyond blog post mentions the price input, talks about that it's coming with the Glory of the Giants is where they're starting with it.
Yeah.
They of course announced the what's the book called? The new one. The Practically Complete Guide to Dragons.
Yeah, they did announce that, which I mean, it's cool enough.
It's a second dragon book.
I hope it's better than Fizbin.
Hard to say, but it's a second dragon book, The other thing is, they're doing some weird things they put with this announcement. Okay. School and club support.
Yeah.
I both understand this, but also, there is, unfortunately, especially here in America, still a little bit of that stigma related to D&D that I'm sure older people might have.
Yeah. It's still a sore spot for some people, but I think the idea is that and this has been actually shown in studies, is that things like tabletop role-playing games do help children develop social skills and mathematics skills. So I do think this is overall a good thing that they're supporting school clubs and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and they were doing their third-party marketplace, which unfortunately sounds a little bit more... If you dive into the information actually about it, it feels a little... Is it worse than the current one? The D&D Beyond marketplace or something? Or a little bit more money-grabbing? I don't know.
At the D&D Beyond marketplace. I didn't know you could buy...
Well, apparently...
you can buy, official stuff up.
Well, apparently, the marketplace there, if you do put stuff up there, it's they take 50% of the profit for it. It's something like that.
That's a thing.
Yeah. It's an incredibly high amount for like having.
It's a little bit much for a marketplace to take.
Also, I don't think you can publish it anywhere else. Anywhere like it can only be published there, kind of thing. I can't remember the exact rules of it, but they weren't great. So they're pushing harder for that too, which just doesn't sound good too. I don't know. Their community update is...
I do want to say something about the practically complete Dragon's Book or whatever, and just the state of a lot of D&D source books is they mentioned here it's going to have a childlike perspective on the Dragonlance world. I don't like that you're theming a world building book into rule book to roleplay, because it makes it harder to read. A rule book should be very clear, and the lore should be clear. I don't like this that they're flavoring these books from the perspective of things, and like the perspective from in a world. I don't know. It's weird with me. I think that's a little strange.
I'm trying to look, and like one of the things is they talk about digital, but one of the things I have to say is I do not see any of the products they're offering for sale. There must be a way to see it, maybe, but I can't find digital only. It all seems that you have to buy the physical and you get the digital then. I mean, that's fine, but I think the digital's also their D&D Beyond version of digital, which means it's only there and you have to have that.
Yeah, it's a D&D Beyond thing, which apparently it's a good VTT service, but it's expensive as hell.
But then again, that digital version there also is like, I want a digital because I want to play with my friends online. I don't want to use your D&D thing. Oh wait, I can't. Oh well, but I also have to buy the physical book to get it. Oh well.
Yeah.
They don't really have a digital. It's
not really. They don't really do digital. I'm gonna be honest.
Not well.
I will say the one thing they do actually do fine, and honestly pretty good, is as much as I don't like D&D Beyond, it's the subscription is like really cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Subscription is like $5 a month. And you get like some pretty. I think you get like, I don't know what all you get with it, of course. I assume you would get like some of the books and stuff. You know, you could use them without spending $500 for all of them.
Yeah.
Looks to be expensive.
Mm-hmm. I do like how this other article that you had linked from Dicebreakers, they're like, there's no evidence they're going to put the extra cost to anybody that really should deserve it. No, yeah. There isn't. Because they probably won't.
Nope.
It's gonna be all profit, and maybe...
Yeah, it will.
Maybe like $1 or $2 for the extra costs. Oh no, we making up for the extra costs to our previous profit losses. That was already our huge profit margin. Oh no.
Well, if you can't tell, a lot of people don't like wizards currently.
Oh no, and they're not winning any friends.
They're not really doing any good PR moves for themselves.
It just continues to be bad PR. It seems constantly. They just can't make up their minds. Anyway, something that had been mentioned, I wouldn't have found this out until you posted in the other place. There is for the Darrington Press, one of their new RPG systems. There is a Quickstart guide for it. You posted this, the Candela Obscura one.
Mystery game.
Yeah.
I read the Quickstart. It's a very simple system, and it's pretty neat.
Well, I mean, they were saying that they were doing 2 of them, though. The pretty simple, like, for fun one.
The bigger one isn't out yet.
Yeah. So, this is there for their simpler system, which is just kind of simple, fun to play, and, you know, if you want to check out the Quickstart for it.
I think the big one is Dragonheart. It's going to be at Gen Con.
Yeah, okay.
When they're going to show stuff for it.
Mm-hmm. So your investigators in an esoteric order. It's a gothic horror kind of...
it's Cthulhu-esque. that kind of gothic investigation thing. They're doing a live show of it. I believe the VOD will be on YouTube on Monday or Tuesday. I don't remember when they put the VODs if I haven't watched the channel in a while, but it was a pretty good stream.
Okay.
It seems like a pretty good system. It doesn't seem too flawed or anything. It's very simple, very easy.
I mean, that's usually good for this kind of game, I gotta be honest, or especially something that's meant to be... have a little bit of that bite of a classic role-playing game, but not to be like a big campaign kind of thing. Again, I'm always glad for quick starts and stuff like that you can check out things, test them out, and see for yourself. So if you want to see and see if you're interested in this and might want to dive deeper into it.
Yep.
It's one of those things that as much as I've been okay / not a huge fan of Critical Role, I can never say that Matt Mercer isn't a really good DM / GM, and his company does some good stuff.
Company does really good stuff. They are very supportive of the D&D community.
I just can't argue with that. So the product seems good. If you want to check it out, see for yourself. And honestly, I guess if you want to check out just the play, again, as Momo said, it'll be up on their channel. So
yeah, the live play will be up probably Monday.
Yeah. So we can turn now to Paizo, starting with, of course, what is going on right now, if you're interested in it. PaizoCon, technically. Which, I don't know how many years they've had this. At least since pandemic. They might have had it before the pandemic. They're like online kind of version of it, at least.
I haven't watched any of it.
I unfortunately don't usually watch PaizoCon.
I don't have time, unfortunately.
It's one of those things also that, like, I really hate to say it, but online conventions aren't my thing because I feel like it's...
Yeah.
I'd rather just read a summary of what they talked about afterwards.
The big thing for me will be, like, what's the new video game gonna be like? Yeah. Because I guess they're gonna talk about that.
Yeah.
Or I have talked about it or something.
They talked about Pathfinder Remastered yesterday, and Organized Play, Secrets of Pack World, Foundry. Let's see here. Today was Secrets of Galarian, Pathfinder Adventures. I don't know what the game was called off the top of my head, so
It's from Bocom Studios, so they're going to talk about it like 4 p.m. Pacific time. I don't know when that is in EST.
Oh, yeah.
An hour from now. I'm going to talk about it now. I don't know.
It's like 15 minutes from now it'll start. Because that's Pacific time 3 hours after EST.
I believe that's correct.
So,
on the East Coast, I don't think about time zones.
As having organized plenty of people for games, I've gotten pretty good at it. Yeah.
The only one time zone I know is the one my partner lives in.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not a North American one.
Yeah. So, I think we did talk about the Starfinder bundle last week.
We did mention the Starfinder bundle.
Because they're mentioning it again. I'm just seeing if there's anything else.
It's still up. It's still good. Still good value there.
Yeah. So that's the big thing there. Let me just check to see if we forgot anything. They also did talk about their releases this month, which the ones that we didn't talk about is they did have a new adventure, the Enmity Cycle, for 4th level characters, if you want to check that out. Some new flip maps for it. The second in the Stolen Face adventure path for Pathfinder, and some more Starfinder Society, Pathfinder Society stuff that came out. Yep. And some more flip maps and stuff. So nothing major that we didn't already reach for English work in brain for Pathfinder this month. Yeah. Let's see here. And the other thing is, they have a Character Tools open beta that's live. So let me link this one is. It's the official 2nd edition one. I don't use the ones, but I know, like, for whenever I do, like, May the 4th be with Star Trek, Joe keeps linking the Star Trek Adventures character tools thing. So, again, these are like, it's a thing for making a character.
It's helpful.
It's helpful. It looks as though they will have an app version for your phone and a one that you can use probably in a web page from just the looks of this. Or like on your computer, mobile, desktop, and tablet. So online access when available. Whenever you have data, no download or install. It doesn't. I don't know if it has a price or anything like that, but it's the open beta for it if you want to check it out and stuff like that. So it's a character generator. These are pretty good. They're helpful usually. You don't always need them, but they can be helpful. So. You want to throw that one out there. Hey, so I didn't know that Chaosium was doing this. But I don't know a lot of things sometimes. But apparently, what they are doing now is they're bringing this to Roll20. Back in 2018, with Drive-Thru RPG, they created the Miskatonic repository, which is basically their section of Drive-Thru RPG, which is more connected to them to get people to make stuff with them, their community content program. I can't tell you how good their community content program is, but it's existed from there, and honestly, check it out for yourself if you're interested, if you want to create for it. But what they're doing now is they're connecting up with virtual tabletops, with especially Roll20, that stuff that is in Miskatonic repository can easily be brought to there too, with maps, tokens, handouts, so that they have their own version of it also on Roll20 that is approved of by them. So, it's stamp of approval from the people that you're making stuff for. And honestly, they are traditionally, as a community content program, these kind of programs mean that you're able to sell these kind of things.
Yes.
So
it is good. It helps people make things.
Yeah.
And make money doing what they love.
Yeah. So now, not only if you want to create stuff for Call of Cthulhu, you don't have to just do it on Drive-Thru RPG. If you want to do it for virtual tabletops, since they are the thing now, you can. I don't know if it's anybody other than Roll20, or Roll20 is the first virtual tabletop that they have. That seems to be the one they're mentioning here, but I guess whether or not they're spreading it anywhere else, that might be for future. But anyway. So, if you've been a creator or you're interested in getting into Call of Cthulhu creation, then that's a good time to check it out. Maybe earn a little bit. It's just the unfortunate the world we have today is very tough for people playing in-person games. You can still can. It's not like you can't, but it's become a lot tougher to do it.
It's true.
When I would do like right now, I know for a fact it would be really hard for me to organize the same group I had for in-person games. Even though I know and can communicate with all those people, getting all of them to sit down in the same room for a period of time and be able to play once a week.
It has become a lot nicer to not have to drive in order to play D&D games. Not have to put on nice clothing. I can just sit in my PJs and look like trash. Make a silly voice. Yeah,
and honestly, if you still want to do things with you can see people, you can still camera in with Discord and stuff. So I mean, you can do voice.
There's an element to, to the to offline games, but you can replicate that pretty well now.
Order yourself a pizza or some Chinese food. Sit around with some drinks, and then get distracted by something on your computer, because if in the age of phones you would get distracted by something on your phones, I will tell you, before things like even Pokemon Go, it was so easy to get distracted by something on your phone. As soon as the phones that we have now came out. Oh my god. Brain.
What is it called? Internet. Smartphone fantasy.
Smartphones, thank you. The word smart it just left my brain.
It happens.
Smartphone technology. I mean, even before smartphone technology, you got to be honest. We were all distracted playing role-playing games. You know, be rolling
You
dice
don't
or.
always need to have 100% attention. Let's be real.
I had a friend who was an artist who would, at the end of each session, would be, "Here's my massive amount of art that's of my character or whatever we were doing for the session."
Like you're not gonna need to be 100% present unless you're the DM, and sometimes the DM doesn't need to be 100% present.
Cough, cough, children of wrath.
Yeah. Sometimes the game just happens without a DM.
It's like, am I needed at this moment? Nope. Well, I'll be back. So let me know when I'm needed.
It's just open up Final Fantasy 14 and fish for 3 hours.
Anyway, we do have some more things to chat about. Let's talk about The Last Spell, the board game. Here's up on Kickstarter. So this is a 1-to-4 co-op roguelike RPG tower defense board game.
A lot of things.
Yes.
I'm gonna be real. Because this can work in a board game, but man, if I saw a video game that was like it's a roguelike RPG tower defense with deck building, I'm out.
Yes, I can understand that. When I mentioned this and we're like, this is a board game, I'm like, okay, I could maybe see this, you know, but yeah, this is a mouthful, and it looks very interesting, but it's like one of those weird combinations or things that you're like, how did you get this to work?
Sometimes things just work.
Mm-hmm.
Like Todd Howard once said, it just works.
God, Todd Howard. Thanks, Todd Howard. So the idea is there's like a daylight hours where you bolster your like economy defenses, prepare for you upgrade your equipment and stuff, and prepare for a nighttime where monsters attack your area, where you have a circle of monsters attacking it. Each monster has different behaviors, and there you go. There's probably more to it with their kind of like, I guess, building and, you know, repeating and kind of like roguelike material to it, but they have a bunch of extensions and miniatures and stuff like that, so it's...
Game, so it's going to be very expensive.
117.
Which is on the average range for board games.
But this does include all the 117 is the base game and the first expansion, along with all the stretch goals.
Well, and everything, it's $171.
Yeah, which is a bunch of the other expansions that they've...
More content. If you have a group of friends, I mean, that's like, you can split that cost.
Yeah. So... I like games like this. Whether or not this one is better or worse than the others, again, you can check out the videos on it, see for yourself, kind of give an analysis if this is for you. But it's funded, at very least. If you are interested in it, you can look into it, and it's reached its goal. There's always the extra little bit of, hey, it's reached its goal. That's a good thing to check out.
It is funded. That's good.
So, I don't know if they've had this before. They may have had this previously, because this is the Integral Edition. The Metal Gear Solid board game has the pre-orders for this, at least, new edition. I don't know if it's been out before, or this is just a new version, or if it's a new version of the game. I'd have to look in...
I don't believe there was a Metal Gear Solid board game.
Let me...
I would have heard about it. Because I'm a Metal Gear Solid nerd.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just check. Drive-through RPG. Come on, games. When do you have dates? You just have the thing for this one here. Oh, shit. Just go right there. So it's bringing Metal Gear Solid to tabletop, of course. I think.
Fine.
This
is Metal Gear Solid, at least, and I assume this is based on the first game.
Yes, it looks to be based on the first game.
That is. Solid Snake's original design. There's Gray Fox, Meryl. I think that's Liquid over there. I don't know. Okay,
so this is the new one. So it's just that they have pre-orders for this special edition of it.
Okay.
It's coming out early next year. It looks like technically.
Fun.
Well, we're getting a look at it. But yes, it's technically it's May 2024, so it's a year away technically. But if you want to pre-order for the special edition now, I mean, some people like that, some people don't. But if at least you want to put it on your radar if you're not interested in a special edition,
You can play as your favorite characters: Solid Snake, Meryl Silverborough, Gray Fox, or Hal Otacon Emmerich.
Yeah.
This is just like my Japanese anime over there.
Yeah. Apparently.
Also, Solid Snake's boyfriend.
Apparently, for $100, you get the giant, which is the integrated edition. You get the giant metal Rex miniature. It is not a. I like it. It's just big.
It's pretty good. It's a pretty faithful recreation of Rex. It does need painting though, to look as real as it should. But it's a board game.
Yeah, they all need the.
They're all standard colors of red as boss, green as enemy, blue as you. Yeah. Right? They're all kind of like that. Also, there's a box you can hide in. There's a little box.
Yeah, I like the box miniature. Apparently, there's also a 109-page graphic novel included with it.
The graphic novel might be a retelling of the first game.
I'm sure that's probably what it is, honestly. But still, that's like a neat extra for your pre-order bonus. Honestly, if that's enough for you, great.
Having played the first Metal Gear Solid recently, I think it would actually translate pretty well.
Yeah. So yeah, it's it looks to be like a tile kind of building area because there's 14 double-sided tiles and stuff.
As you go, you build out shadow mode. Like I assume it's similar in style to a Resident Evil board game where you're building the mansion, quote unquote, but you're building shadow Moses.
Yeah, the Resident Evil one does it, Betrayal House in the Hill, the D&D board games, they all that kind of like you build out the area you're working in. Different styles entirely, but the concept of you build out your entire thing. And it looks like they have 14 unique stealth and boss missions, so it's another mission-based one, which you can probably replay for, the tiles will be different. Honestly, like it's again, that's more similar to the D&D one.
It's a legacy game. Yeah. Where you play these missions in order, which Resident Evil is like that as well, but I don't believe.
And honestly,
Betrayal on Hill is not a legacy.
The D&D one is the legacy one too. But I'm saying like I can replay the same mission over and over again too, and it'll be different because just
the layout's different.
Yeah, layout's different. Probably like the random enemies are different that you have to deal with. Bosses might be the same. That's it.
What I'm curious is in the Resident Evil board games they simulate the gameplay very well. Because in a Resident board game, you can just skirt around zombies. Like, you don't have to ever kill anyone. And I'm curious how stealth will translate.
Yeah, like I'm assuming each character has different abilities too for the entire thing.
I mean, Snake's a stealthy guy. Meryl has guns.
And the guard outfit that she can infiltrate with.
Yeah. Fucking Gray Fox is a robot man.
A robot ninja. And Otacon is just a scientist that just,
He's just a nerd.
No one's gonna, like, think too hard about him doing stuff, you know?
He's just a nerd who's trying to find love on a battlefield.
Can I plug in Controller 2 to fight Psycho Mantis?
Yeah, that's true, you do. You do have to do that. That is still one of the greatest, in my opinion, one of the greatest things the video game has ever done.
So, if you're interested in checking it out, again, like, all the board games we talked about are very good. Like, I've always liked the D&D ones. The Resident Evil one I've heard great things about. I think you've played it.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I have to get some people together and we have to play it on tabletop.
I would love to do that too. Like, I love Betrayal House on the Hill. Like, there are people that can play, but it's always fun. Like, this type of game is something that I feel like is a very fun type of game. So, I'm glad to get something a little different and maybe some different mechanics too. I'm interested, as you said, how the mechanics and stuff go. Definitely, that's a curiosity.
And I put my back to a door with a chaff grenade and then teleport through like it's. I do that. I do the bulbous.
I don't see enough speedrun glitches to know of that one, but it sounds.
That
wonderful.
One happened like last year, and it tore the Metal Gear Solid community asunder.
Someone discovered a glitch
that cuts 10 minutes off the game. It cuts 10 minutes off the speedrun, and she discovered it by panicking and pressing buttons.
It was an accident. accident. I love that too.
Really by accident. She just panicked and pressed a bunch of buttons, and then she found the first major glitch in like 20 years.
Jesus. That's a heck of one. So let's bring a little bit on Catalyst games. I haven't talked a lot about Catalyst games because we talk about them when they do something for BattleTech or Shadowrun, but they have a division of it that they're now founded that's specifically board games.
Interesting.
This might have come up today, honestly, because it's 30 days to go. So we're really early into it. But this is their first board game. It's about halfway funded. 30 days to go. So, I mean, you've got plenty of time to look at it. And it's Overlords in Training, which is... your idea is that you're kind of facing against everybody to defeat the boss and then become the Overlord. I guess we're all competing to replace the Overlord in a thing. It seems like a interesting game concept. Looks a little fun with the art and stuff.
Yeah, the art's like very, very fun.
Yeah. So you can look into the game and see if you're interested in. And honestly, I'm interested to see if what Catalyst does. You know, I've complained about some of the things Catalyst have done. I've also enjoyed some of the things Catalyst have done. So, with their new board game group, a division of their company that's specifically in board gaming, is this the kind of thing we're going to see from them? How good is it? Like, I've got questions now, and, like, you know, interest me. So, if you want to check it out and see for yourself, it is up on Kickstarter, I said, with plenty of days to go. Just watch it and see. I get the feeling it'll probably be funded.
Probably. It's halfway there. It's still got the full length, so I assume it'll probably get funded.
Yeah, and Catalyst is a pretty good name anyway. Yeah. So, speaking of Kickstarters which are live now, and especially one that's funded, guess what's live, everybody? Tales of Valiant. So, the Black Flag, Project Black Flag, the Kobold Press thing, it's out, and it's reached...
Funded. Funded by a lot.
It's funded by a lot. It's
7 times the original amount.
Yeah. I get the feeling they're going to hit 1 million very easily.
Probably.
At least.
I personally didn't have that much of an interest in this one. But I'm glad it's fun. Because it is more stuff.
It's the thing that, like, I gotta be honest, I'm not really looking for another high fantasy role-playing game right now. I can always play 5th edition, still, if I want to do something simple. And other than that, I've been enjoying diving into Pathfinder and Pathfinder 2nd edition again. Pathfinder again and Pathfinder 2nd edition really personally for the real first time. You know, I dived in here and there over the years now, but I haven't really dived into it. So it's like, I'm not looking for a new one, but I can understand with people that are being fed up with 5th edition.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something that's evolving 5th edition, using those base rules, but coming up with something new, which is what Tales of Valiant is. I can see that being a very popular thing. So,
like, for me, I can DM a lot of systems, so I don't necessarily need another one, but again, I'm happy there is an alternative to 5th edition. For people. It uses relatively the same 4 D20 rules.
Yep. So, check it out. If you like some of the Kobold Press stuff, if you've been paying attention to what they've been doing, or just barely heard about it, it might be something to look into, honestly. And again, as I said, 5e and Wizards have had this kind of unfortunate burning of all their goodwill and stuff.
Burned a lot of bridges.
So, if you wanted to spend $48 and get their Monster Vault Player's Guide Alpha release, 2 Kickstarter playtest packets, and their previews and updates, you can get it all in PDF form.
$48 is still cheaper than a 5th edition book.
And I mean, like, you're getting, like, the Alpha plus eventually the Player's Guide and Monster Vault. You know, it's like, hey, you can test this out early because we have our Alpha version, and when we have our final ones, you also get those.
For $10 more, you can get hardcovers.
That's not bad
Of your
either.
choice, which
Yeah.
is not bad.
Yeah. So, thing to keep in mind and to check out. Keep it, they've got a bunch of stuff for different, a lot more levels to check out too. Check it out for yourself. See if it is.
BP licenses. You get a lot of cool stuff.
I haven't dived as deep probably into this, but from what I've seen and read about, it looks interesting enough to be that I can say, like, I would say it's I could recommend checking it out if you want something for 5th edition and don't want 5th
I can
edition.
personally vouch for Cobalt Press's books. They do release a lot of very good content, especially their bestiaries, which is kind of, I believe, what they're known for at this point.
So, yeah. We have a couple more topics to talk about today. First off is the Free League Press has announced 2 new Lord of the Rings book, Tales from Eriador and Ruins of Eriador. The Lone Lands, the area between the Blue Mountains to the west and the Misty Mountains to the east. It sounds like. I'm looking this up because I didn't know where this was.
There's a lot of places in. There is a lot of places in Middle Earth. This is where the elves mostly live.
Okay.
This is where Rivendell is.
Ah, okay. As soon as you say that, I'm like, okay, that at least gives me some information.
So you can know at least what it looks like in the movie.
Okay. Cool.
It's an elf book, which is kind of needed because elves are very important to Middle Earth.
Yes. The tales will have 6 adventures, set in, of course, the World of the Rings role-playing station. So you can check those out if you want those. And the Ruins seems to be a multi-chapter, larger kind of thing that involves information and sites of interest and stuff like that. A lot more. So, a lot more for exploring stuff. So, the 2 books together. There's pre-order now. You get them as a bundle for a little bit of a price off. If you're getting physical copies, it looks like, honestly, like $18 off for both of them. It's not bad for book price. $55.30 for 2 books. They're just giving them away now. I can't help it. I'm so unhappy with Wizards. To
be fair, it is discounted currently. Otherwise, it'd be $73 for 2 books, which is still cheaper.
Yeah, still cheaper.
But it is currently on discount for early access and pre-order, which is a good way to do pre-orders.
Yeah.
They don't too badmouth elves in Lord of the Rings. They're good at shooting bows.
They are good at shooting bows. Last main topic I had for today was I kind of want to talk about this because it's weird and interesting. It's an interesting take on the war game books. It's do a war game but use Legos and other building block kind of stuff that you might just have. So,
I didn't look into this anymore. I just saw it. What I originally read was Brink Wars. If you remember the game Brink from like years ago, which is really bad. Back then, I'm like, why are they making a role-playing game of this? This game sucks. But this makes a lot more sense.
I almost forgot about Brink until you mentioned it too. Thank you. That's a interesting one. It's a miniatures war game based thing that basically is using whatever construction toy based things you have available.
Yeah, your Mega Blocks or your Lego.
I guess you could also use Playmobil and Duplo too.
Yeah, Duplo exists.
I remember Playmobil as a thing too. I had some of those. Not as much as Legos.
I had Mega Blocks because they were cheaper.
Oh.
I never had many Legos. That's one thing I I've always wanted was more Lego, but they're so expensive.
I was fortunate that it was in the time period where they were a little expensive, but not really expensive like they become now.
X-Wing is $100. That's a bit much.
Yeah, no. Oh, my day, like something that size of the X-Wing would have just been like $30 or $40.
Yeah, and X-Wing is like $100.
God, that's expensive.
A bit much.
That's really
Which sucks, because the X-Wing is my favorite spaceship.
I mean, I also was in the age of like Legos that they're just generic. It's Western Town. Woo!
Yeah, they used to be very generic. Now they're all IP based.
Yeah, they are.
It cost hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, they are, and a much more collector's thing rather than a children's thing.
They are very collectors.
So, I gotta be honest, they're wearing their influence of Lego as the main kind of thing to call on the sleeve, but I guess that means there's not.
These are
just
generic enough.
Yeah, but certainly like Lego is the easy one to call for this. Like building, you want to plan a war game without normal miniatures, but with just Legos.
Oh,
here you go.
Man, this scene in the bottom is pretty fucking violent. Like, you look at the bottom of the book, there's just a bunch of just dead Lego men everywhere.
Yeah.
It's fucked up. Smart. Also, like, some of them look like World War II Germans, which is weird. Got the gray uniforms on.
They kind of do look like
that's the World War II helmet.
Oh, well, I guess you're fighting the World War II Germans.
Don't remember those Lego sets. But,
well, that's a thing that exists. That was a choice. What country originally did this? I just have to ask, because I'm just curious where it's originally from, for choices they picked. So, certainly if you're interested in that one, you can check it out.
A reference to Octon Cthulhu.
It could be.
There's a Cthulhu man on one of the pages.
They could be referencing all their role-playing type stuff too. Yeah.
That's likely.
Okay. So, you know what? We talked a little bit about that kind of thing. Let's use this topic today for our deeper discussion topic, because honestly, I've only done a little bit of this over my years, and I don't know your experience with this. But why don't we talk about today using homebrew found online? Because this isn't what I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about, let's say, you're using third-party material like Kobold Press or something for your D&D game. This is some schlub somewhere online made up. Because
so the only experience I have with this is back when Critical Role was not a thing, like wasn't like big. I allowed someone to use the original Gunslinger that Matt Mercer did. Never again. I haven't allowed just random homebrew since then, because it tends to not be very well balanced.
It is one of those things that, since it's not published from a company, you certainly have to worry about that.
Yeah. If a player comes to me and is like, "Oh, I want to play this thing," and they give me a homebrew, I'm like, "Okay, I'll read it over." I'm like, "Okay, I'll make you something instead," because I know what can be balanced in my games.
I think that's a good way of doing it. Like, I'm not as good at the creation side, I feel like, in general. Like, I probably might have been better for something like 3rd edition back in the day, because I did a lot more of my own homebrewing back in the day. But nowadays, like, if someone came to me with something from 5th edition, or even like Pathfinder / Pathfinder 2nd edition, I don't think for any of those systems I would feel great about, like, me figuring out the best. I could probably judge, like, does this seem like it'll work?
It helps when, like, 3 years of 5th edition experience is cutting 5th edition apart and changing.
That helps.
Lightning and I have plenty of experience doing that.
See, like, and that's the thing is, like, I feel like if you have as you as a player want to use something and bring it to your GM, the DM / GM, first off, yes, find if you've got someone you can talk to about it. It's like, discuss it with someone that, like, you know, if I was brought by a player, I might go to you or Lightning, like, especially if I'm doing something 5th edition, be like, hey, what do you folks think about this? What can you tell me about it? That's a good first thing. Second of all is, If you're not familiar enough or you don't feel confident enough, don't allow it to begin with. Just be like, hey, I don't know about this. I'm not confident that I could balance it out if there is some kind of issue. Let's not do it. Because most people be like, I just found this thing online. They're not going to be like argue about it too much.
Yeah, like if it's from the what is it, like GM's Guild, I think it's one of the like the good sites.
Yeah.
But it's from like the D&D wiki. No, that's a no. I'm not even gonna read it.
There's a lot of places nowadays to find stuff because, you know, it's the difference between back in the day, certainly, where it was a lot harder to in like earlier internet days. Like back in the time when I was doing 3rd edition, you could find some homebrew stuff online, but there was not 3rd edition. 3rd edition? 3rd edition. Did I say 3rd edition? I meant 3rd. Okay, my brain just broke for a minute, as it usually does these days. It was a lot harder to find stuff like that. Like, one of the major things I found, which I did use, which I regret using, because I regret using what I did in the first place, which I did a deck of many things, which is a terrible idea. But I also then used the deck of too many things.
Yeah, it's also bad.
That game had too many problems to begin with anyway. That didn't ruin the game. It was already in a spiral of doom to begin with. It didn't even accelerate the game. I'm going to tell you that much. That's how bad things were in that game I was running at the time. It was this downward toilet spiral of my... That was my first big 3rd edition game. That it just was a downward toilet spiral the entire time. It was a thing.
Yeah.
But that said, that was a homebrew that was online that someone had come up with. I'm going to say it wasn't technically any worse than the deck of many things for 3rd edition. It had some different stuff, some interesting stuff, but it really wasn't anything worse. So using that or the other, not a problem. Using the deck of many things is the problem in and of itself, but like, you know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like I, as a fairly experienced home brewer, this is gonna sound weird, I tend not to allow homebrew. Especially, well, I will allow it if it's from specific sources. Like, if you want to play Blood Hunter in one of my games, I'll typically allow it, even though it is a homebrewed class.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I don't really allow homebrew because, again, it's often not balanced enough, and it's more work on me to fix it.
I think the thing I will always use as an example to prove that you have to be very careful about homebrew is talking about we talked about third-party stuff, and I mentioned the Pathfinder Artificer, which Joe played, which is incredibly unbalanced, and you can still find it on the PSFR D20. It's still up there as one of the third-party classes. It's actual third-party, and it's horribly unbalanced, and it's something someone published. So, it's published by a company. What makes you think a random person can do better than that?
Yeah.
I think that's the best way of saying it is what makes it think that you can, like, that this random person could have done better than a company when they make mistakes. Certainly, some systems it's harder to flub up than others. I feel like 5th edition stuff tends to be... You can still unbalance stuff in 5th edition, but a lot of that stuff tends to be, you know, have more give. Especially than like
all damage die in 5th edition.
Yeah. Like, and certainly, if you feel like something is unbalanced, you can do one of two things. And if you still want to, like, try it out or allow it, go by these directions. One thing, you can change something if you talk about it. Like, say, like, hey, I think this is a little unbalanced. I feel like this would be appropriate. But even if you change things, or hold off on... Because the other thing is you could hold off on changing things. If someone's using homebrew and you do allow it, say to them, hey, we're playing testing this a little bit. If there's an issue, I will help you out to either make it stronger if it feels like it's too weak, or weaker if it feels like it's too strong. And just say that to your player, if you want to use that.
It's all about communication.
Yeah. Homebrew and using it is another level of work. It is going to be if you want to do it. It can add some interesting things or some fun things. Certainly, some interesting concepts. Different species to play, different classes, different backgrounds, different abilities, different equipment. Certainly a lot of that, like a lot of weird things that are non-stat based equipment, I will automatically be more interested in listening to if you bring me homebrew magic item for Pathfinder that doesn't just boost stats, that does weird thing number 27, and you're like, can I possibly, make this or find this? And I'm like, that seems fun. Let's do that,
Like, items, I think, are fine, usually, because you can usually gauge when an item is just too strong.
Yeah.
You can easily take away an item. Classes... Homebrew classes are very difficult.
Oh, yeah, that's a hard one.
Because they're often... From what I found, is a fully homebrew class is really hard to make.
Mm-hmm.
And have it feel balanced with other character classes that already exist. Like Lightning and I's Witch class for 5th edition, I think we have hit a good happy place for it where it feels as strong as it needs to be, and it doesn't feel weaker than anything else. And it took a lot of work to get it there.
Yeah.
Conversely, we have, I think it's a Planar Soul class that we've given up on because we don't know how to really fix it.
Mm-hmm. I think it's an unfortunate thing that, you don't know when you're bringing a homebrew thing what iteration of the test that it's in or how much they worked on it. It could have just been like, this is a cool idea, throw it down on paper, put it up online, call it a day.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing is, certain places will charge you for homebrew stuff, certain places will not from these independent publishers. They're people that just publish something online. Be careful about that then too, because
absolutely,
you're spending money then. Certainly people that offer things for free, great, okay. They're doing it for the fun of it. And you're like, hey, I came up with this thing, I used it in my game, I want to share it with people. They're maybe not looking to publish it. Give that a bigger grain of salt, honestly, than those that spend... And again, I'm not saying don't distrust people that charge for it. It could be their living to homebrew stuff. But be careful, because you should talk about, things like that with whoever you're playing with way before you actually buy it.
Just buy it and be like, can I have this?
Yeah. Be like, I might want to spend money on this. This is something that we can work with that maybe I can use. And then talk with whoever you're running with. And figure out if it's an investment worthwhile. It might not be a lot, but I think... okay.
Yeah. Like it says, our witch class works because it's kind of a kit bash between a bunch of other 5e classes.
Yeah.
It fits a very specific niche in the party dynamic.
Yeah. If you're talking 5e, things like archetypes, probably easier to make. I gotta be honest.
Yeah, subclasses are easier.
What's 5th edition calling it now? It's not... species, are they calling it? They're just doing species, which is very generic. It's
which is generic, it's fine. I don't think that's enough pizzazz to it, but it's whatever.
I think that's, at least it's fine. It's whatever. That's a whatever one. So
it's a nothing change to me.
I think the easiest things to probably work on are backgrounds and archetypes are probably relatively easy to work on. So those are usually...
The funniest thing about backgrounds of 5th edition is every background is just a suggestion. There are baked-in rules for customizing a background.
So
you are encouraged to just make up backgrounds.
Everything
that's listed is just a recommendation.
Their useless ability, which we really want them to be useful.
Some of them are pretty useful.
Yeah.
In certain games.
Well, that's why I feel like homebrewing some slightly similar type of abilities, but making them custom to a game or something, or here's some suggestions for some interesting backgrounds, would be something someone could put together that'd be neat. But what was I going on about? Archetypes, species.
Archetypes, yeah.
Those two a little easier to do. I'm not sure about 5th edition feats. Like, that's a question.
Feats are such a swing in power that it's very strange to judge.
Yeah. Like, there are some that are, like, really powerful and some that aren't at all.
Go from, like, the chef feat to mobile on the higher end. It's like there's everything else in between in terms of power.
So weird. And then, as you were saying, classes, because that's a lot of stuff, is very difficult.
Classes, because not only do you have to do class, you have to do subclasses. That's how 5th edition works. You have to do subclasses.
Like, certainly, I probably wouldn't put together a class for 2nd edition Pathfinder. But if you wanted to, like, come up with a path for, like, because each of the classes in 2nd edition Pathfinder has, like, their own kind of, like, archetype path kind of thing. Come up with one of those and a bunch of feats associated with that. That might be an interesting thing to do, and probably pretty easy in comparison.
As for, like, species and stuff, honestly, that's, in my opinion, is the easiest thing to do. Lightning and I have made, like, a dozen custom species. It's really not that difficult to make them.
Yeah, especially in 5th edition.
They don't really need that much testing either.
I think certainly, like, original Pathfinder would have probably been easier for their species.
Pathfinder 1E has, it still uses the race point calculation, so you know roughly how powerful something is.
I put Ancestries and Pathfinder 2nd edition on the same level as, slightly less, but a similar level than classes. Very hard to make, unfortunately.
You have to do a lot, because you have to make feats and stuff.
Yeah. They're interesting, but they are much more in-depth, and it's that thing of, like, they make each of your choices matter a lot more.
Choices matter a lot more in 2nd edition Pathfinder. Your early choices matter a lot.
They build your character in very interesting ways. So
it very much is a checklist of things rather than Pathfinder 1, which is just input like a couple of numbers and you're done.
Yeah, I think there is some spell building rules in Pathfinder 1st edition, so custom spells is an easy thing there.
I know there is baked in custom item rules for 1st edition as well.
Yeah.
They're fine. They get a little complicated if you're trying to make, like, a more powerful item.
Yeah. Or unique abilities.
Yeah.
But certainly you can work on that. And I just think that, like, you can still do that stuff, make spells or magic items for 5th edition or Pathfinder 2nd edition. Those are just harder to do and harder to balance.
Yeah.
So
anything that deals damage is a lot more difficult to balance out in 5th edition because damage and AC are the two things that matter the most.
I think the last thing for Homebrew that I can kind of mention that is the easiest to judge is Homebrew rules for special occasions and stuff like that. Like, if I wanted to do back when I was doing Children of Wrath, there was options that I certainly could have, in certain circumstances, done some mass battle rules. I wasn't going to do it with that game, but it existed that there were points in time where if I did choose to do that, it would have been logical to choose there. There was stuff like that going on. Again, not that game, but you can be in a game where that would be, and there isn't really great mass battle rules, so you can look for something someone came up with.
You have to kind of make your own or find some homebrewed ones, because the official 5th edition ones are really bad.
I mean, I think we talked about mass battles and how bad they are. So
we at least mention it a lot.
We did have a couple back at the beginning of April, or middle April, we talked about it. So, yeah. We talked about it there, so if you missed that, go back and check us talking about that. But again, like, it's the same kind of thing of, like, that's a point in time where, because the rules are so bad, maybe looking for something homebrew, especially if you don't have an idea where to go.
If you're a DM and the rules are not clear on something, looking for someone else's ruling is a good idea.
I think that's one of those things too that it ends up being a lot of times that you're technically homebrewing a little bit, especially with rules discussions where weird things happen.
Like, the most common thing people do in games is a homebrew rule.
Yeah.
Is bonus action potion. Potions are a full action use. but most people do them as bonus actions, so they're actually useful.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the most common home rulings.
And so, when it comes down to it, that is probably the simplest and most likely that a lot of us are going to do no matter what is, homebrew a rule. Whether it's something like the potion something, or it's something like some issues come up, I'll look up a ruling online or look up what people did in this case and just make a decision for myself. I'm using their information to do that. I do that constantly with things like Buccaneers, where there's like Pathfinder has complexity to it, unfortunately. First edition especially.
Pathfinder has a lot of weird interactions.
Yeah. And some of them don't show up because it's just a random shit.
Some of them are incredibly specific. Like Harrigan's item, which is a very specific item, which only appears in this AP, not functioning because of travel limit.
Yeah, which it was such a weird interaction that I'm like, I don't know how this would work.
It would never come up because in Skulls and Shackles, you're not ever recommended the travel limit.
Yeah.
It's not one of the recommended player ones. So ideally, you're not going to have someone playing it.
And it is just one of these things of like, it's a single item, single interaction too of, because he's granted an ability because of the item that helps him out because of an interaction that that something else creates. He basically he makes you
frightened, and then he can sneak attack.
And then he can sneak attack you, or like shaken and sneak attack you. And specifically, it's trying to figure out suppressing shaken. Is that the same as still being shaken? And because it's suppressing the effects. So
new.
It's 3 layers deep is the thing of interactions.
I answer in a spell, but it wasn't the same situation. Yes.
And that's the weird thing.
It needs a Starfinder rule to figure it out.
It's this weird. It's just that thing can happen in a game where you have this interaction between things that, honestly speaking, maybe hasn't come up specifically. You never know when things come up and interactions occur. And though, as much as I say, I'm using Pathfinder as an example, which is very easy to hit that kind of stuff can happen really in any gaming system.
Yeah, any system with any rule can have a weird interaction.
Yeah. It might not happen as often in something like a simple system like 5th edition. It still occurs, where you're like, what the hell just happened? And you ask the question, and you will either have to homebrew a rule, well, you're going to have to homebrew a rule, but whether or not you're going to try to look that up online to see what people said or not, or just decide it for yourself, up to you. But there's basic homebrewing 101 before you get into any of the other mechanics stuff that happens, which we've talked about. So I think that hits up a lot of everything to talk about homebrewing. I did want to have this kind of conversation, especially after we talked some of the third-party stuff a while ago, and this is another branch of material you can use out there. So, yeah. And you always do, yes, and always knowing, if you make a ruling like that, be ready to maybe talk about possibly changing their stuff, especially if you make the wrong choice, because sometimes you do. Be ready for that. When this comes to anything related to homebrew, be ready to talk about with your players if you made the wrong choice, whether it's them using something, you finding something you thought was a cool idea to add into your game to either you use or players have the option of using, or just making a rules decision, which is the simplest one. Ready to be like, hey, I made a mistake. Let's pile it back a little bit,
Conversation is key. It is a cooperative game, and the GM is as much the player as anyone else.
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about our week in tabletop. As usual, I'm sure you had a lot more than me.
Not really.
Oh, okay.
Games ended a couple weeks ago.
Oh, okay. Did you do anything on Sunday then?
Sunday, no.
Okay. You don't normally do.
That game ended.
Okay,
that game ended because of life things.
Mm.
We basically went over like plot points and stuff.
That makes sense. I mean,
It would have continued into a Monster of the Week type game,
mm.
but life.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, that's happened in my Monday game, so life happens. It's an unfortunate part of the universe. Did you do anything on Tuesday?
Tuesday we had some space adventures. We interrogated a man, got information, and we're going to go steal a satellite.
Ooh.
Yeah, I play a robot. Party's very meme. I wasn't really into a meme game, so I'm just kind of vibing.
I always think, like, I don't mind a little meme, but it can be too much.
I was playing a literal raccoon.
That might be too much. That might be too much even for me.
Raccoon man.
Yeah.
And there's a tiny rabbit person. So Lightning and I made serious characters. We feel very out of place.
Look, it's sort of like that weird thing of, like, my level of meme characters, technically Badger, which was kind of a meme, but also he could easily be played very seriously, which is that...
Yeah, like, Lightning is like a straight-faced, very serious, like, caster. Yeah. I'm a sentient robot that is... I don't know, like... there's a raccoon and a rabbit person. That's pretty wacky and silly.
Yeah.
Makes everything a circus. It's a little bit weird. I wasn't quite prepared for that. Although there is the added benefit of that the joke has become the Lynn's character, which is the rabbit, is my Grogu, and I am Mando. That is the joke.
All right, I'll take that. That's a good one. Everybody had Buccaneers on Wednesday.
We got Buccaneers. We got sassed.
You got sassed.
Lost. It was a sassy session. The DM was feeling very sassy.
Look, I just imagined that your mother as
that sass is earned. I feel like that sass is fine.
Yeah.
It's not like everyone else, like from the bureaucrats to the priests, were just so sassy.
Look, maybe my evil is sassy.
You're lawful sassy. Devil worshippers for such sassy people.
I mean, probably not all of them are going to be, but really, like, I just feel like you're the only one that knows stuff, and the rest of them are just bumbling into things. So people just idiots. They're just idiots, and I can't help but sass the idiots.
Like, the approach that was went with was fine, but
yeah.
I was gonna ask, like, because I lived there, there was gonna be a question of, like, can I roll to know how much a standard port bribe is? Because it's a big city, so officials are pretty corrupt.
True. Bribes would have been an option.
I was very tempted to just, like, bribe him to let us through.
I probably would have given, like a sense motive check to see if, like, you feel like he's
man was willing to accept the bribe.
Yeah, like, because certainly there's probably those that are very, like, corrupt and would, take a bribe, but, like, there's definitely more that those wouldn't, if you went that route, it would have been fine, honestly. I found it funnier that you went very seriously into it, and I just, like, your direction is fine and probably won't cause any troubles by being, like, random pilgrims.
There were two options I was going to bring up was bribing and approaching the Thieves Guild of the city to get us out. Because there is a very large Thieves Guild in Westbound.
Yep.
But the party seemed to lean really heavily into being pilgrims. And I personally found that funnier.
It was funnier, and honestly, they are the worst pilgrims. Like,
they're really bad at being pilgrims. It's almost like they're not religious.
I mean, like, I gotta admit, there is, like, that's the thing is, like, I am keeping track of, like, a level of suspicion, and they already have hit a couple of tracks of suspicion.
Yeah, they're idiots.
Not enough to really matter at this point, but,
Mostly, Honestly, Revia and Yaku, like I predicted, would be the problems.
I find it wonderful, and I do enjoy sassing them. They need to be like, if one of them's an idiot, it's fine, but both of them being an idiot, it's just.
They do make very questionable choices.
Yeah, but you're on your way. You're in Chelix now, and it should theoretically be smooth sailing to the next location that you're going.
I'm not sure what we're gonna do when they would actually hate tieflings. Tieflings are enslaved. Chelix like super hates tieflings.
Even if they're devil-blooded tieflings, it's just an unfortunate part that like they just look at them.
Any half races, Chelix just hates.
Yeah.
It's actually the common for Golarion, but it's toned down a lot in games for obvious reasons.
It's something that like actually it's something that's actually being thought about, because it was like 40 years ago in Golarion's history that the major like religion basically declared slavery bad, racism bad. And certainly there's plenty of people out there that are following it, but 40 years isn't long.
You actually read half-elf lore. In 1E, it is not uncommon for half-elves to try and mutilate their ears to look more human so they do not face discrimination. That's very old D&D writing, and they are trying to move away from it. But in 1E, yes, tieflings and half-elves and half-orcs are hated.
It's the difference between like 1E and 2E too. It's like another.
2E is a little bit more modern lore,
and they definitely have a little bit more of that. Like it's a world which is attempting to like become a better world. So it's sort of like there's still like pretty bad pockets of stuff at various places, but they're trying to improve. Trying. So, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how things go there in your continued quests through Chelix, and probably only like 1 or 2 sessions more, I gotta be honest, depending on how stupid your plan is when you get to the town.
I don't know what we're gonna do for that.
Look, I have no idea what their plan for getting information is, so
I really don't know. My idea is maybe break into a naval office.
That's a competent, great plan, which probably will at least result in some decent amounts of information.
Yeah.
And if not, give you an idea of where to go after that.
Yeah.
Depending on what you choose.
There are
will they choose
two competently stealthy people. We have invisibility spells and also non-detection. So.
Yeah. Doesn't mean a lot though with idiocy.
Yeah, we might just have to have Yakul and Revia stay somewhere until they're needed.
Yeah, just you wait here until you're needed.
Dump them on my wizard brother.
Yeah. I think the thing is, like, I try to make it that just to get into the entire thing with the Golarion stuff for just a second. I try to keep it that it's like it's a world that, depending on the nation you use, depending on how it is, and the world is also improving.
Yeah.
It's sort of like they're seeing. It is a renaissance. It's a renaissance of societal changes, too, where, plenty of nations are melting pots of a lot of people. They've got to learn to live with that crap, and each other. How successful is it?
It depends on the nation.
Well, it's sort of like, I like talking about Assyrian, because it's sort of like, they're technically still a slave nation, though they're walking away from, like, I just own you, to more criminal slavery, which is better? Is that a great punishment? I don't know. That's a discussion for punishment type things for law.
That's America.
That's a thing that's there, So that's a different type of discussion, but at least they're it's sort of like they're still bad as a nation, but they're making progress to become more progressive, which is. It's ancient Egypt in the modern day. They're trying to walk back some of their bad ancient Egypt stuff. When in Renaissance day. It's interesting ideas, an interesting exploration of culture and evolution of culture. That's why I kind of like the idea a lot of Golarion stuff. It's an evolution of culture that they're trying to become. There is this through line of a lot of nations trying to become better, except for Chelix because they're dicks. But
Chelix keeps collapsing.
Yeah, they got issues. Turns out a lot of people don't like that idea. Anyway, did you do anything on Thursday?
Thursday, I had a kind of session 0 where I went through and helped people build their characters and explain the world for the next game a little bit.
Okay.
That game will be starting next week.
Okay. Neat. And I think neither of us do anything on Fridays or Saturdays, I believe.
No, I didn't do anything besides watch the Sony video game showcase.
I mean, it was mediocre.
It had some fun stuff.
Definitely some things that I'm like, that's interesting.
I might play Helldivers 2 because it has a very Starship Troopers vibe to it.
I mean, like, I just watched a bunch of people play the Starship Trooper game, and, like, that was funny.
Game looks wonderfully jank.
It's wonderfully jank, and it's one of those games that's like, I would love to play that. I would love to play that with other people.
Yeah, I need a group of people to play that one with.
It's the unfortunate thing. You don't even need, like, the full, like, whatever, 16, but, like, having at least, like, 3 or 4 other people. 4 people that you do at least. Like, let randos fill the rest, because you're all playing together still, but, like, at least having that core of your group, that would be nice. But, anyway. Definitely, it was interesting. So I guess that's...
Helldivers 2 will be free. Lightning, I do not know. It's not out yet, so...
It's on PlayStation, so...
It's going to be on PC as well.
Okay, so...
It's going to be on... Helldivers 2 again.
Yeah, so, I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? Anyway.
It doesn't currently have a price listed, so...
Yeah, we just know it exists.
Had a very wacky trick.
That was a lot of what happened that day. It was a lot of it exists,
Yeah, I forgot about most of it. I saw, like, a couple of cool-looking games, but...
Well,
nothing was quite as weird as HD Splatoon.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, like... I saw a game that, like, if it came to Steam and it was on sale, I'd probably be interested in, which is that if they do it well, the Metal Gear one, because I really like Metal Gear Solid 3.
That one will be on Steam.
So when it
they've already announced that Remake It 3 will be on.
When it's on Steam, and if they do a good job,
I'm iffy for me because it's not going to have Kojima attached to it. So.
That's the thing is, I don't know if they'll do a good job. I play the remakes by ear. Like
I love it to be good because I love Metal Gear Solid 3. It's my favorite game, but we'll see.
So, cause certainly, like something like, again, I will wait for a sale, but I probably, if it was on sale, get the Resident Evil 4 remake. I
good. Remake 4 is Remake 4 is maybe the 3rd best remake I've ever played.
So see, like. That one screams to me like, oh, I like that idea. It looks nice. I've seen through it. The thing is, I've already played through the original game, so I didn't mind watching someone else play through the entire thing and be like, man, I would love to do that.
I finished it like 6 times, but it takes so many playthroughs to 100% that bitch. So it's got a lot of unlockables.
That's good. But anyway, that's it for today. Then I think we hit up all our major topics and stuff.
That was it. We talked about all the things.
Upcoming schedule for me, to let everybody know, is if you're looking for my gaming, on Monday I'll be doing more Slime Rancher, which I had a very fun time with, and I've already got a bunch. I'm already doing very well and getting a lot of money. I don't know if it's enough money, but I already have the 3 sets of Largo and was going to make a new one on things to, like, farm up a bunch of money. So, yay. That's basically that game's entire thing, is get a lot of money and explore a couple times.
Very chill game.
Yeah. So, I found it fun. I'll at least do it one more time. I don't know if I'll play it through it to the end. I don't know 100%, like, if I want to do how much I want to do in that game overall, but at least I'll give another session. Spelunky 2 on Wednesday. Still trying to get that first victory, because something about that game makes me do terrible decisions to get myself killed. A lot. And then
that's just fun.
I know. One day I will beat it for myself, and then I will go over and be like, "Hey Blaze, do you want to try to play through the entire game and do like the really difficult Cosmic Ocean run as a duo?" That'll be fun.
Yeah, co-op for that desyncs a lot, so good luck.
It's better than Spelunky 1 co-op.
God, yeah.
I think that's where we're at, kind of like, because we tried that on PS3. That was a monster. And then Fallout 4, we're gonna play some. I'll play some more of it on Friday. If you're looking,
Nice.
if you missed this week's tabletop, I would recommend checking out. They should all be up on YouTube now. I talked about Seattle and Shadowrun on Tuesday. I went over the Dwarves of Galarian on Thursday, and just earlier today I talked about, well, this the one that's from today is going to be tomorrow. I talked about the Mokale, the where kind of crocodiles, but really where dragons, dinosaurs in World of Darkness, because that's what they transform into, like dragons / dinosaurs. Next week I'll be hitting up on Tuesday Star Trek again. We're going to go Star Trek Adventures, talk about the basic rules and some probably combat. I'm going to visit Alkenstar, which I'm probably butchering the name of, on Thursday. And next Saturday, I will talk about the Camarilla. And that's the schedule right now. Buccaneers Shackle Sea on Wednesday in the evening. We should be on schedule for that. And of course, we should be back next week. I've got nothing on the schedule to block me. Hopefully, maybe Momo, you could join me. If not, we'll find someone else.
Probably.
And you've been the staple here for a while now. I mean, I would like to get some more staples, but people are just busy. You know, it's like
Life.
maybe I could drag Joe back one day. Like, Joe,
Perhaps.
join us for 3 people to talk about things. We can
It
get.
does work sometimes. I don't know if he works weekends.
He doesn't work weekends, but he does stuff because he helps out his father a lot over Saturday.
That's fair.
You know, because his father was much older than his mother, and then his mother passed away. So now his elderly father needs help a lot of times.
Kind of anyone can just jump in here if you're in the Discord, honestly.
I should add Worm into the. I back when I was asking people to join the Discussing Tabletop Discord server, you had been out actually for a while, so I haven't. If you're interested in maybe coming back in, let me know, Worm, and I can kind of add you back into the server. So you know, it's just the timing of back when I added a bunch of people. You were currently in the early on, I'm out kind of thing still. So anyway, we'll talk about it. That's the schedule. I can't think of anything else right now. So thank you again for joining me, Momo. Check out all my stuff, YouTube, Twitch here. Give all the support, all that kind of stuff. If you haven't followed on Twitch, go ahead and do that. If you haven't subscribed on YouTube, go ahead and do that. All these things help me out. I hope you enjoyed. Learn some things. And, yeah. I guess see you all next week then. Farewell.